What's the most fucked up thing you've heard eavesdropping? Ex thought I was sleeping. She went out on the back patio which was under my master bedroom window that was open. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but overheard her talking to her friend about how they were both fucking an old man for money and pills. Were you the old man? I wasn't. But I'm getting there. Just need to get some money and pills. Bill Cosby enters the chat. Back in the 90s you could pick up cordless phone calls with an ordinary scanner from Radio Shack. That's how I found out the guy living one floor below me was dealing meth. Also routinely heard people's credit card numbers, sex chats, all that stuff. It was crazy. For the glory days when everything under the sun was on 800 megahertz. You're telling me. I still have that scanner and you can't pick up a fucking thing on it nowadays. Everything is encrypted, even the mundane stuff. I used to have a scanner and I would sit in the room all evening listening to the police radio. This would have been mid-90s in London, if I remember. It wasn't long before they moved to a digital, encrypted signal. It wasn't a nipple, it was much larger. Heard at a Starbucks years ago and still think about what it actually was. I feel this is better if they were talking about a pet. I still don't want to know the full story, but the range of possibilities seems improved. Maybe it was a tick? You might have solved this person's old mystery. Now he can relax and let it go. Wish it was that simple. I think a part of me will always wonder. I was in line behind two older women at a restaurant maybe 5 to 6 years ago. One says, "Hey, did you hear about so-and-so's son?" The other says, "No, what happened?" She replies, "He ran off and joined ISIS." What was crazy was they seemed so casual about it. Like that wasn't a crazy fucking thing to hear about your friend's son. Well, even if he passed the IFOP, a perfect score on the IFOP merely indicates that one is a candidate for field agent status. I literally watched this episode yesterday after not having watched any Archer for years. Fucking weird. Years ago I walked by a dude on the street. Visibly frustrated, he was on his phone talking to either his boss, or a friend, who knows. And then it got all caught in the gears, just torn apart, Jesus Christ, blood and guts everywhere. Right in front of the kids. What a bad day too. No, I didn't clean it up. I was late for my dad's funeral. Holy fuck. Sounds like a bad day. To shreds you say? In high school overheard a girl saying she's not worried about getting pregnant, she just tells her boyfriends to hold the cum and skeptical. Yeah, hold the Cuban, go straight for the paprika. I don't have money so here's a cookie for your joke. Every time? I laughed very much, thank you a lot. Yeah, so a friend of mine got his aunt pregnant. It went like, "Buddy, are you sure? I mean, Mom is going to be pissed if she finds out." No, I'll go with you. For real, we can't see each other again? Wait, no, we can just go away, together, you know. No, it's not wrong. I love you. Please don't. From what I can surmise is that his aunt was on her way to get an abortion or something and that she's going to leave. Yikes, dude. How old was he? How old was his aunt? I was on a bus journey where the passengers had to sit through a scary-looking dude at the back making a series of loud phone calls which included threats to kill, arranging for people to meet him for this attack and raging at people who he was seemingly calling at random to scream about his desire to stab him in the fucking neck, which was a recurring theme. I don't take the bus much. Reminds me of the time my friend and I sat and listened to a pimp talking on the phone about his girls to some guy he clearly didn't trust. For like 2 hours. We reported him to the cops and nearly shit ourselves the next day when we were out doing errands and saw him staring at us from across the street, looking very displeased. In college I overheard this girl talking about how her parents recommended anal to her and that they had an open conversation about it all. In order to stay a virgin? I'd guess to avoid a BB. Unbibe. Litul Bay Crow. My uncle didn't actually succumb to cancer 20 years ago. He shot himself to speed it along. one could still attribute it to cancer. Many people do not want to go through the harrowing experience of being unable to care for yourself. Sorry that happened. Frown. I've already informed my wife and son that if I get to a point where life is just pain and no hope of recovery, that I'm not sticking it out. I've had chronic pain for over a decade and fully expect things to get worse in the future. I'm going out on my terms. Please just leave the bottle of oxys on the nightstand and let me rest for a bit. Make sure you have a will and medical and financial powers of attorney filled out immediately. From an open window when I was 19, I overheard my mom telling my dad she raised a loser. That still hurts years later. My parents openly talked shit about me to family members even if I was around my whole life. Then they wonder why I never bring my son to visit for holidays or anything. I never want to see them again. I'm sorry, dude. That really sucks. I work nights right next to a bar. The conversation that stuck with me the most was when someone's baby mama found them and started a one-sided shouting match outside the window. She said something along the lines of, "You've got $1 million in your bank account and still can't take care of your kids." Saw her running and screaming at him as he got in his car and drove off. Ha, that was more or less how things went when my mother finally tracked down my father when I was 12. His attorney flat out told him that what she was asking for in child support was both reasonable and as good as it was going to get, and he'd be an idiot to fight it. The back payment got us a new roof on the house, and to his credit, he also pitched in towards my college tuition after I was 18, which he was not obligated to do. That's the least he could do, being a runaway dad. I was on the bus and I heard a guy talking on the phone with a friend, telling him how his girl beats him. His tone was pretty casual, but it sounded like there was a domestic violence issue happening. The most hilarious thing I heard was two guys talking, and one guy was talking about not being able to wear second-hand pants because someone else's balls been in them, sweating and stankin'. You had me in the first half, thought you were talking about a different kind of beating. Then I felt sad. In high school, I really want to take acid but I can't find a babysitter. OG teen mom. Edit, I am certain she meant for a baby and not for herself, as she had a baby earlier in the school year and not for herself. Also, I knew her and she was wild. Also, yes, good on her for at least looking out for her kid. He grew up fine and she's doing great too. It was just funny and shocking to my virgin ears. You know what, fuck it, at least they understand to have a priority to the child. Maybe don't do acid on a school night, but if you must, definitely get a babysitter. Exactly, they aren't a saint, but they seem to have made the right decision to not party if they don't have a sitter. When I was a little kid, around 11, I was upstairs in bed, and my dad was downstairs talking to my mom. My dad thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I was listening to him talk, and he was talking about some guy who fingered someone's ass. This could have been a Howard Stern bit that took place 7 years ago. Benji Bronk and Perez Hilton. This was this first comment that made me LOLIRL, out loud. I then proceeded to tell my partner, and she also lol, hope it's real. And that's how you assassinate Bill Gates. Literally all I heard from the conversation. It was two high-speed bicyclists on a trail in Washington state near Seattle. They were having a very animated conversation, and that was all I heard as they whipped around the bend I was walking on. Why am I now awaiting a headline which reads Bill Gates killed by two people wielding a bicycle pump and inner tubing? Wait, is having conversations about how to assassinate well-guarded targets not normal? I was just practicing my critical tilde thinking. Honestly, it just left me wanting to know more. Death assassination or character assassination? What is their method of entry? Did they make their attempt and we just never heard about it? Two customers meet after a long time in my store. Hey! I didn't know you got out of jail. Yeah, 15 long years. What happened? Oh, you know, shot a couple people. Good on the man for serving his time, but I'm still desperately curious who he shot and why. Just casually, you know? I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. My friend got her wisdom teeth taken out but had a bad reaction to the anesthesia, so I was helping take care of her. Her BF, new relationship, dropped by to check on her with one of his friends. I heard them both murmuring in the kitchen, wishing I wasn't there so they could have fun with her. I confronted them and screamed for them to leave. She lived in an apartment building, so I know people heard me. They tried to say it was a joke, but either it was effed up and scared me. Did your friend believe you when she woke up? She believed me but didn't care. What? I mean, unless unconscious sex is agreed upon beforehand. When I was 9 years old, I was sneaking downstairs to the kitchen for a midnight snack and I heard my parents arguing. Heard my father tell my mother that he hated me and wished I had never been born. Didn't get midnight snacks again after that. Ouchie, man. Your dad sounds like an ingrown taint hair. Hugs, mate. Right back at you, man.